Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here to present a very important special audio presentation that your ears cannot dare unlisten to. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't matter. Listen to this.
Welcome to someone's favorite movie. I'm coming to you from the Pod Shack outside beautiful Bay City, Michigan. My name is Randy, and with me is the man that knows no bounds when it comes to subjecting himself to cinematic punishment. His name is Tomko. What's up, sir? How are you?
Oh, I think I am almost gravied out.
You're gravied out? You've been stuffed full of turkey and...
Yeah, little known fact, Tomko does not have a gallbladder.
Oh.
And so I do not process fatty foods very well, but fuck it, it's Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
I don't care if, my house smells like rotten eggs after I eat a Thanksgiving dinner. It's worth it.
You're just fumigating for bugs is what you're doing.
Exactly.
You're
doing my part.
Doing a great service for your home there.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Let it be said that Tomko does not have any gall.
No.
Yeah. Somebody tells him he's got a lot of gall. No, they're wrong. He does not.
I still am kind of pissed off that they didn't let me keep my gallstones.
Yeah, that's a shame. Why?
They're mine.
Why though? Like, that's
why
a
didn't
weird...
they let me keep it, or why did I want to have them, returned?
Why would you want them displayed on your mantle?
This is a serious story. I wanted to buy one of those rock tumblers.
Okay.
Where you find a piece of quartz in your driveway and you put it in there and it comes out all shiny and you can use it for jewelry.
Sure.
I was thinking, the wife could have got earrings. She could have got a pendant. But no, it's considered bio waste in the eyes of the law.
Man, how'd that make you feel to know that part of your own body that you produced through hard work and determination is bio waste? That's rude.
I thought it was rather insulting to my mother because she's the one that did all the hard work producing that shit.
Yeah, right?
Well, maybe not the gallstones, but certainly the gallbladder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. She did play a part in that gallbladder of yours.
Mm-hmm.
So now you know Tomko has no gall or no bladder. So
I'm also missing my bicuspids.
Excuse me?
Yes. My bicuspids have been gone for 30-odd years.
30-odd years?
Yes.
You've been walking around without your bicuspids?
Yeah. Believe it or not, my mouth is too small.
Oh, boy.
Yes. And so my parents were faced with a choice. Either they subject their child to have 4 baby bicuspids removed and then 4 adult bicuspids dug out, or they get to be seen walking down the road with a gnarly-mouthed kid. I think they chose wisely.
Oh, my God. You're telling me you could have had a mouth like Tommy Thompson walking around?
Worse.
Worse. Man. You could have been like Jaws from James Bond, maybe.
Damn it, now I'm feeling robbed.
You didn't really think it through, I don't think.
No. Well, I didn't really have a choice. They were like, Tommy, here, you're doing this.
Oh, man.
And the great thing about it is I will never, ever forget that day because my father walked in there with me, and I remember he was holding my head still the entire time. They didn't knock me out. I was awake for the entire thing, so I got to watch literally, the bloody tools ripping teeth out of my mouth. And years later, I thanked my dad because he was just being there. It was calming to me. I was like 7, 8 years old when this happened, so I'm terrified, but he kept me calm. Turns out, no, he just wanted to get a good view.
You didn't realize it at the time, but he was actually holding one of the tools that pulled out one of those teeth.
Yeah. Which, I mean, now that I'm older, I can't say I blame him.
Right.
I don't have children, but if somebody said that, I could go in and watch my dog's operation, I'd grab some popcorn and a soft drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rip them open.
I mean, you don't have children, Tomko, but if you ever feel like, I don't know, somewhere in your heart that maybe you missed out or what could have been.
Are you going to let me watch surgery or oral procedures on Pookie's child? Is that what you're offering me here, sir? Because that's highly inappropriate.
No, even worse. I'm offering to let you babysit those kids because my God, they are a handful sometimes.
Well, you know what? I will bring a whole case of Benadryl and it'll be a good night for everyone.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, gosh. God's elixir, that Benadryl sometimes.
Yep, that and the hot toddy.
We're not here to talk about hot toddies, though, Tomko. My God.
Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because I could go on all night about hot toddies.
Yeah, that's another thing people don't realize about you. You are a hot toddy aficionado. So
I am. If you love your children, you'll drug them.
Speaking about drugs,
Rob Zombie.
Yeah, who had to been on drugs when he wrote these movies. Today we're covering Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. They seem to have a reputation, these two movies, don't you think?
They do. I still remember being super, super excited when I heard that he was going to be directing this because this was hot after he released, The Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
Which honestly is a damn fine grindhouse exploitation road movie.
Sure. How did you feel about House of 1,000 Corpses?
I think I would have loved it if I hadn't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Sure. That's fair.
But, I mean, it was visually interesting, and I was willing to give him more than a chance with these movies. I was genuinely excited.
I was too, quite honestly. I mean, I wasn't a huge Rob Zombie fan, but I was a big hard rock / heavy metal fan at the time. So the thought of him directing to a major franchise such as this really piqued my interest. So I expected great things.
Well, especially when they were announcing the casting, and even Tyler Mane as Michael Myers is actually a pretty good choice.
Yeah, that is one of the choices they made, isn't it? Like, they made Michael Myers a huge, imposing figure.
And that, I think, in the right hands, could work.
Yes.
And, I mean, I remember being genuinely excited. I want to say it was the Christmas of 2007 or 2006 when they announced that Malcolm McDowell was playing Loomis, and I thought that was fucking brilliant casting.
Yeah, Malcolm McDowell is a treasure, and I feel like he's in pretty much anything these days.
He's a better actor than the roles he takes.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that.
But I also remember hearing everything that was leading up to this movie where they were having to do reshoots, and I never did get you that copy of the work print, god damn it.
I saw it way back in the day. I mean, I don't really remember it, but I certainly saw it. Before this movie came out, there was a work print that got leaked to the internet because those scurvy pirates,
God bless them all.
Yeah. So I saw it before the movie came out in theaters, and yeah, I remember at the time liking it, I thought. And then years later I didn't like it anymore.
Well, I saw the work print after I saw the actual theatrical cut of this movie, and I walked away feeling very much the same that I did this last go around. But I guess we'll get into that starting pretty soon.
Yeah, but first, right after Halloween Resurrection, there was a bunch of wacky ideas of what to do with the franchise. Oh, what do we do with this hot property that we got? We can't just get rid of it because there's money to be made. There's name value, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If there's $1 to be made, there's a property to exploit.
Oh, absolutely. And my God, that Freddie versus Jason was a thing that happened. So hey, let's do Halloween versus Hellraiser, huh?
Which I can see why they would want to do that, but it's still disappointing to see such an iconic franchise taking the lead from somebody else.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I don't know that this would have really worked. There was an idea for this even around 94, 95, this idea was being pitched. And the whole idea was that Michael Myers, as a child, was possessed by a hell demon named Sam Hain. Sam, first name, last name Hain. Because, of course, as a child, he was possessed by Sam Hain from hell. And that's pretty much why he can't die, you see. He can't be killed. But
didn't they also have him opening the puzzle box?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what? I'm sure it's already out there, but it deserves to be at least a fan film.
Sure. There was a trailer that was made by the guy that was trying to get this on the ground running, and I watched it actually this morning. He pieced it together from various Halloween movies and various Hellraiser movies, and it's not that great.
What is it? What they call a sizzle reel?
Yeah. It just doesn't work. But whatever. He tried. The best part was that the movie was going to be called Halloween.
Ah,
you see that?
Nothing quite as frightening as a pun.
I mean, how could there be? How could there be? So they came up with this idea again because ideas never die. They just get pushed aside and brought back up again. So when after Halloween Resurrection was dead and buried, they thought, hey, let's do this again, you know? So they even set a release date of Halloween 2004 for this movie. And they reached out to Clive Barker, who is the creator and writer of Hellraiser. And they reached out to John Carpenter to direct.
How sick of these meetings do you think John Carpenter is?
Right?
I mean, every couple of years he gets dragged in for the same goddamn thing.
Yeah. Hey, John, we got this idea. Is it about Michael Myers? Well, listen to the idea. Fuck you.
I'm just picturing him, like sitting there with his arms crossed, chin down, not listening to a goddamn thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug Bradley, who plays Pinhead, or played Pinhead, he's the most iconic version of Pinhead. The one that
I didn't realize there was more than one.
Yeah, those shitty direct-to-video ones, they recast him. So he was really excited about it. He said, I remember getting quite excited at the prospect of it. Clive said that the versus bit, the Michael Myers versus Pinhead bit, was a bit beside the point. It was a bit boring given that Michael doesn't speak, which makes him a disappointment to Pinhead. Clive wasn't interested in any mano-a-mano confrontation. He was interested in finding the places where the Hellraiser and Halloween landscapes might have crossed over. Dr. Loomis spends a lot of the film warning people they don't know what they're dealing with. He gave Michael this supernatural, mysterious element that made him so powerful. There was a suggestion he was something not human, and Clive felt there was a way in there. Clive saw him as a sadomasochistic sexual pervert and serial killer, which would be enough to pique Pinhead's interest.
God.
I'd say that's a stretch, huh?
I'm just picturing Michael Myers wearing the white Shatner mask underneath like a BDSM leather mask with the eye holes and mouth zipped shut.
Yeah, the Shatner mask with a ball gag.
And you know what? I'm not trying to be judgmental, but it's just goofy as fuck. It's just like so many other things in this series. It's so fucking silly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't imagine that working at all. Freddy versus Jason. Freddy versus
barely
Jason,
worked.
Barely worked, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Hellraiser versus Halloween. No, stop it right now.
Yeah, but you know what? I guarantee you would buy a ticket to that.
Oh, absolutely. We'd probably be talking about it on this dumb show, actually.
Yes.
So
yeah, and you know what? That's all they care about. They don't care if it's good. They just want to know if it'll sell.
Well, that's true. Instead, they decided to do a full-on reboot, and we got Rob Zombie's involvement in Halloween, which came out 2007. Stars Scout Taylor Compton as the Laurie Strode character, Malcolm McDowell as Samuel Lewis, Brad Dourif as the sheriff, Taylor Maine as Michael Myers,
Danielle Harris is Nancy, I believe.
Danielle Harris as Annie Brackett.
Annie. Yep.
Making her return to the franchise. Danny Trejo makes an appearance as a sympathetic security guard at the institution where Michael is put in, hospitalized, I guess. And
Sherry Moon Zombie, of course, because it's a Rob Zombie movie.
It's a Rob Zombie movie. You got to. But also we got Dirk Fjerk as young Michael Myers.
This poor son of a bitch.
So Rob Zombie decided to do, if you're going to reboot Halloween, you should probably make it your own a little bit, which he kind of does because he gives the origin of Michael Myers. But then he
I would say he very much makes it his own.
But then
at least in this first movie, he does.
Yeah, but the first hour is like the origin of Michael Myers. The second hour is like
an abbreviated rush through remake of the 1978 original.
Absolutely. So I guess how do you feel about the origin of Michael Myers?
Well, it's not so much about when I rewatched this for this podcast, I decided to play a bit of a mental game with myself where I was trying to make this a better movie, and I didn't really have to try all that hard.
Oh, man.
Not to say that this movie is total and absolute shit, even though it kind of is, but there's a good movie in here. I really believe that there is. If they had taken the approach of, God, what's that name of the movie? Behind the Mask, The Rise of Vernon Fitch or something like that?
Yeah, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Leslie Vernon, okay. Yeah. Because, I mean, that movie is a behind-the-scenes making of origin story of a generic serial killer that would have fit in very well to any 80s slasher franchise discussion. If they had taken that approach with this movie, I really think that they could have had something really interesting. If they had just removed everything from Michael Myers to Dr. Loomis to Laurie to to Haddonfield, if they had just substituted those, I really think they could have had an interesting movie here.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it goes to the whole notion that monsters aren't born, they're created.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely the approach that he was going for.
But I think the problem is that everybody has a very, very firm picture of what Michael Myers is, who he is, how he came to be in their head, that I think for a mass audience, it's just too much mental gymnastics to get over. And so Rob Zombie, I think, decided to just go in a complete opposite direction of what most people were expecting. And he gave us the hillbilly, white trash, Confederate flag waving version of this.
That's a very good description. That's exactly what it is. That's the first thing you notice. That's the first thing I noticed a few weeks ago when I watched it right after watching a bunch of the original Halloween movies in a row. Then I watched this one. I'm like, holy shit, the vulgarity and the shocking content just for shock value's sake, it almost was really just disconcerting to me. I said this before on a couple episodes ago. I said that with these movies, these slasher movies, there's a certain kind of innocence to them, which sounds ridiculous because, they're about murders and gore and whatnot. but there's still some sort of naive innocence to him, you know? And this one is just like full out, I don't know. It's like the Jerry Springer show
Yeah.
transported into a slasher movie, and it's completely uncensored. I don't know. I had to turn it off actually and turn it back on at a later point because I was like, this is too much for me right now. And
I think maybe it's a little too realistic growing up in the area that we did, because I mean, I grew up when I was a kid. I lived out in a farming community where there were literally more cows than there were people.
Sure.
But I would go over to friends' houses. Some of them were on the wrong side of the tracks, and the home life was very similar to what was depicted in here. So I do agree that it was over the top, but I don't think it was unrealistic.
Oh, I don't think it's unrealistic either. I just think I think he was trying to be shocking.
I don't even know if he was trying to be shocking as much as he wanted to do something different. He didn't want to have just a straight up remake. And I actually kind of applaud him for that, because at least he was willing to, hang his balls out there and try to leave his stamp on this franchise. It didn't work out for him, but at least he tried.
Look at my Rob Zombie balls. Look what I did.
Kick.
I don't know. I understand what he was trying to do, and I mean, I'm of the same mind, kind of. If you're going to completely reboot a movie, you should do something different.
Exactly, because otherwise just go watch the original.
Yes. Which is why the last half of this movie is disappointing, first off. But second of all, I'm not sure that, I don't know. I don't like the Michael Myers as a child wearing a Kiss t-shirt and being like bullied, and I don't know. It just doesn't fit with me.
Well, not only that, but just an annoying kid to begin with.
Yeah,
not that I'm siding with William Forsythe's character in this movie, but I couldn't kind of understand why Michael might have rubbed him the wrong way.
Sure. Yeah, I don't imagine Michael Myers as a child wearing a Kiss t-shirt and killing rats. It doesn't compute with me for some reason.
I don't know. To me, that makes sense. Just because you hear about all these stories about the kids that grow up mutilating small animals, moving on to bigger targets.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely, because he's going for a more realistic take. However, I'm steeped in the mythology of Halloween, so I just...
Okay, so you're somebody who's not looking for a realistic take.
Yes, I don't look for realistic takes when I watch slashers at all, ever.
All right, now I'm of the opinion that the more realistic the take, the scarier it is. If you can picture this happening down the road from where you live, that to me is a lot more frightening than some, I don't know, cult voodoo mysticism bullshit.
And I agree with that too. But usually when I watch these movies, it's for escapism. And so if it's like too realistic, I kind of check out.
Okay. So, I mean, I still think that there is an interesting story in here. And I think that lies mainly in the second act. After Michael has committed his atrocities as a child and he's locked up in Smith's Grove, he's sitting down, he's talking with Dr. Loomis. He's getting visited by his mother. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that they don't really do a whole lot with it other than, share the fact that Michael's a monster that can't be reached. It just kind of sits there.
I mean, before I go on about a bunch of more negative things, I will say some positive things. I like the fact that he has taken a making mask in the asylum.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sort of screaming constantly about wanting to go home. That makes sense to me as to why he's drawn back to Haddonfield in the first place.
It does, yeah, absolutely.
And I like the fact that when he puts the mask on, he's like a completely different person.
Well, it's not that he's a different person. he's not a person. There's no personality there when he has his masks on, and that seems to be this version of the character's comfort zone, where he's just a blank slate.
Yes.
At least in this movie.
Yeah. I like the cast, actually. I think
The cast is really good.
Taylor Scout Compton as Laurie Strode. I mean, she plays the all-American girl that's like sweet and innocent without being boring.
Mm-hmm.
And she's stepping into the shoes of Jamie Lee Curtis, and I think she does it admirably. And her rapport with Danielle Harris as Annie Brackett is great.
Mm-hmm.
And this will come back in Halloween too, but my favorite parts of that movie are when Laurie and Annie and the sheriff are just bullshitting around the dinner table or whatever. I think they play off each other really well.
I would agree, yeah. Yeah, Brad Dourif's actually a really underrated actor.
Absolutely. He's really good in this movie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, especially given the fact that he wasn't really... I mean, he didn't have a lot to work with in either of these movies, but he still made an impression on the audience.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk. The mask in this movie is one of my favorite masks in any Halloween movie.
I would agree once you get to the mask in the third act, after it's been sitting underground and festering for 20 years, and it looks like what latex looks like after 20 years.
Yeah.
It's brittle. It's falling apart.
Yeah, and I
really did like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not like the look of little kid Michael Myers wearing the adult mask, though. That looked stupid.
It was stupid, and the fact of and how the mask came into play in the first place was stupid.
Yes.
So Michael Myers' sister is having sex with her boyfriend.
Yeah, they really did not do any... They could have really expanded that character, and if anything, I'd say they made her a less interesting character in this version.
They did, because in the one in the original is way more interesting, and she's only in it for 30 seconds.
Exactly. Whereas in here, she's just an abusive, bullying sister who also likes dick. That's all you know about her.
Yep. So her boyfriend is having sex with her and wants to have sex with a Halloween mask on. And it's literally the Halloween mask, the Michael Myers mask he pulls out. It's like, what the fuck? Really?
Now, are they saying that that's the motivation that he has for this particular mask?
Maybe.
Lame, Rob.
Lame, Rob. I also don't like the random soundtrack placement in this movie. Like when Love Hurts is playing on the soundtrack as Deborah Myers is stripping and young Michael is brooding because his sister is banging her boyfriend instead of taking him trick-or-treating. That didn't work for
that's a little too on the nose, I think.
Also, all this could have been avoided, sister, if you would have just taken Michael out to get some Tootsie Rolls, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you had to do.
But bear in mind, this is also after Michael Myers has committed his first murder.
Yeah, that's a pretty brutal scene.
It is, and I also think it's effective how he is just going through the rest of his day completely matter-of-factly.
Yeah, he kills his kid, and there's like no other mention of it. It's just...
Yep, time to watch Power Rangers.
Yeah, it's just a thing that happened.
That's why I say that there is a good story in here if they had ditched the Halloween remake and completely rewritten the third act.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they could have built on. But they had to have a Halloween movie, damn it.
Yeah. What doesn't work for you other than the third act? What little nits do you want to pick?
Well, the big thing is just, I mean, we've already covered it as far as the fact that Judith is not much of a character. you really didn't even need her in this story.
No, not really.
Other than that, I'd say my main problems are in the third act,
Yeah.
where it just felt rushed. Well, no, I take it back. It felt rushed, except for the chase scenes where he's grabbing like a wooden beam and crashing it through the roof looking for Lori.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that you could have really cut down on. You didn't need that shit. I mean, the pacing in that third act was just all over the place. It felt rushed and it felt slow at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm honestly kind of wondering whether or not Rob Zombie had an idea for a separate screenplay in mind and just ported it over for this Halloween thing that he signed up for.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe he did.
You know, I mean, it would make sense as far as just the way that this movie's structured.
Yeah. I just wish if he was going to remake it, it would have been just balls to the wall, whatever he wanted to do.
And honestly, I mean, if he wanted to really make it interesting, he could have ended it with the escape of Michael Myers from Smith's Grove.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
You know, they expand the first and second acts a little bit more, and then it ends right when he kills Danny Trejo and he steps out of the hospital.
yeah. That was a rough scene too. I'm like, oh, Mike, no, Danny
The
Trejo's
one
your
guy,
bud.
yeah, the one guy that treated him nice. Yep.
And I guess that was to show that he's just a psychopathic.
He just doesn't give a fuck about any human relationships.
Yep.
What about you, sir? What kind of nits are you looking to pick?
I think I picked most of them really. I guess it doesn't really suit me well that Deborah Myers is so upset that Michael is just locked up in this asylum that she kills herself. Never mind the small baby girl that she's still.
Well, I think it's the fact that she's realizing she gave birth to a monster because it was also after he killed that nurse randomly.
Yeah. But again, you still have that baby girl that you're just leaving.
Yeah,
in
you'd
the
figure
lurch.
you would want to, look out for your own offspring.
Yeah, I mean, if you're so upset about your son being, I don't know, whatever, it seems like you would want to stay around to protect your child to make sure that girl doesn't grow up to be him, you know?
You would think so.
But I guess I'm not Deborah Myers, so what do I know? What do you think of Sherry Moon Zombie in that role? Did you like her?
I didn't hate her.
Yeah. I thought she was effective.
She gets a lot of shit from this movie. And yes, obviously narcissism came into play. I'm not narcissism, but cronyism came into play with this casting. But she did fine. I don't think it was anything terribly offensive or bad or anything like that. But she does get a lot of shit for this movie.
I will say I do like the ending of this. And I wish that was it. Like one and done.
Well, clearly he wrote it to be just one movie. He did not have any interest at all in a sequel. And I think he kind of did a disservice to the franchise by ending it the way he did, in much the same way that, looking back on it, H2O had a bad ending for the franchise as a whole, because where do you go from there?
Right.
Whether it's, chopping somebody's head off or shooting them in the face point blank, somebody's who's on the receiving end of that is not going to survive. So what do you do to continue the story after that?
Right. So the ending of this one, spoiler alert, just like in the original, Michael topples over off the balcony of the second story, but with him this time goes Lori, and Lori lands on top of him. And when she comes to, there's a gun laying beside her. Michael Myers is unconscious. She tries to shoot him twice, and the gun misfires. And then he grabs her wrist and she fires one more time. And this time there's a blood splatter all over her face. And she goes fucking insane. I'm like, wow, now that's an ending.
Yeah, and honestly, if they had left it there, I think it would have been. I think that if they had not made that sequel, this movie would have been more fondly remembered than it is.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that ending is really adds a lot to it. I think.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, Danielle Harris came back to this. She played Jamie Lloyd in 4 and 5 and was replaced in number 6. She was asked in an interview about coming back to the franchise, and she said, I had a harder time emotionally with Rob Zombie's Halloween in H2 than I did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was totally fun. I didn't understand when I did Rob's Halloween, why was it so hard for me to shake it off? I'm like, I'm an actress. Why am I getting a feeling like I want to cry? This is weird. I did enough crying when I was there on set. I don't know why I'm still feeling this way. I think it was because it was the first time I was ever physically touched by him, meaning Michael Myers. As a little girl, as Jamie, he never got me ever. Now, as an adult, I don't have my clothes on, doing scenes I've never done before as an actor, and I'm actually being attacked, even though I should know the guy by now. But it was familiar. I guess it's kind of like if you move out of the house that you grow up in as a child and you come back as an adult, it feels the same, but everything looks different. You don't remember that door being that low and that carpet looking that way. You have this idea of what it's supposed to be like, and then once you get in there, it's completely different.
I suppose I could see that because I've gone back to houses that I spent a lot of time in, and it has that familiar but different vibe to it. I can't say that it lasted, much longer than what I was feeling in the moment, but I could see where it was definitely be off-putting for her.
Yeah, I mean, she did her first nude scene, or one of her first, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be kind of intense.
You would think so.
I don't know. I've never done a nude scene, Tom Go. I don't know.
You know what? There's still time.
I hope
and
so.
I've got a camera, damn it.
The world needs it, I think. The world needs it. What the world didn't need was Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie, the White Horse edition. That's what I'm dubbing it, the White Horse edition.
And you know how I tried to make that first one more enjoyable by trying to figure out a way to turn it into a better movie?
Yeah.
Can't do it with this one.
Oh. Boy, this one's kind of a mess, huh?
This one, you could tell that it was a cash grab for Rob Zombie, where they just gave him so much money that he couldn't turn it down. It didn't matter that he didn't want to do it. He just wanted that money.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was a quick turnaround on this one, too. He didn't have a lot of time to prepare and film it before they wanted it in theaters. So there is that, I suppose.
And I've seen different reviews of this movie where they have various interpretations of what's going on. But if you need to have a movie interpreted to you, I'd say that means that the storyteller didn't do a good job of conveying the point.
Mm-hmm.
At best, this is a pretentious piece of shit. I'd say worse, it is just incomprehensible gobbledygook that they were making up on the fly.
It kind of starts off promising to me, aside from all the White Horse nonsense. Like the image of Bloody Laurie walking down the road, and there you see Michael laying there on the ground with what looks like is half his brain strewed everywhere. You're like, oh, this is something. But then, like, the coroners hit a cow, and that's how Michael escapes. And you're like, this is a remake of Halloween 2, kind of, because Laurie's in the hospital, and Michael's starting to stalk her. And then she fucking wakes up from a nightmare, and it's 1 year later. And you're like, oh,
Well, not
really?
only that, but a lot of the horror scenes in that first act turned out to just be part of a dream sequence.
Yeah, it was all a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And that is always so cheap for me. I hate that.
Mm-hmm. Which basically means that the first third of the movie was a waste of time.
Absolutely.
There's no story, there's no character progression. It's also it's basically just a big do-over.
Yeah. There was a mild controversy on the internet because, of course, it's the internet. Why not have a controversy about this movie? And somebody had watched it and said that Michael was only wearing his mask for about 30% of the movie. Rob Zombie said that was total bullshit, but I don't know. If you watch the movie, not a lot of Michael Myers mask in it.
And it's not a silent Michael Myers in this movie by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
I can maybe see why he would have had the character, shrieking and grunting with every blow that lands. But after a while, it becomes too uncomfortable for even a slasher movie to hear him, grunting every time he stabs somebody.
It's more Leatherface than Michael Myers.
You know what? Yeah, I would agree. Even the character design, the design is a little bit too hillbilly-ish and hobo-ish for it to really work as Michael Myers.
Well, I guess it goes back to your redneck white trash interpretation, because that's basically what Michael becomes. He lives in the woods and he's a hillbilly like Jason and Friday the 13th too. And he's eating whatever he can find out there. And I don't know. It's just...
I mean, at best, this is a story that could be told in 20 minutes, let alone, an hour and a half plus. There are entire sequences and characters that don't count for the overall story. I think that a lot of the imagery would have worked great in a short form music video, but it comes across as wasted and pretentious in this movie. That's the word that I just keep going back to when it comes to this movie. It's pretentious, and it's unearned pretension because he's not as good a filmmaker as he's pretending to be in this.
Yeah, it's pretentious, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Like, the white horse thing is a motif that's strewn out throughout the film. You're like, I don't care. This is...
Well, not to mention, I mean, they could have gone back and did something with the interactions between the mother and Michael Myers from that first movie.
Yeah.
There had to have been something that they could have pulled out of that, as opposed to just introducing this white horse bullshit.
Yeah. What was even the significance of the white horse? I didn't catch it. I'm sure it was said, but I don't know.
I think it's just supposed to be like his image of everything that is innocent and pure, unsullied.
Okay.
But I've also heard another interpretation of this movie where the entire thing is in Laurie's head. It's the delusions that she's having as a result of her PTSD and is slowly going insane from them. Michael Myers actually died in that first movie. Anybody that is actually dead, like Annie, is the result of Laurie going crazy and becoming violent as a result.
Okay. I kind of like that interpretation.
I kind of like that interpretation, but I don't know. I hate to sound like the idiot that needs to be spoon-fed everything, but if you're going to do that, then just come out and say it.
Yeah. Sometimes subtlety and metaphor doesn't work as well as you hope it would work.
I'm not going into Halloween fucking 2 looking for an art house movie.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if this isn't art, what is, Tomko?
I don't know. I'm sure it was something made by Mapplethorpe.
I mean, it's got Chris Hardwick and Weird Al in it. How could it go wrong?
Yeah, that's another thing about these Rob Zombie movies that just kind of, made me scratch my head. Where all of a sudden it's like, okay, why is Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees in this fucking movie?
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Weird Al appearing and Chris Hardwick to a lesser extent appearing in this movie just was, oh man, it took me completely out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all did, whether it was, Weird Al or, Margot Kidder or who knows what. It was just, it's possible that he had a good idea in there and he felt pressure from the studio, but no, this movie was awful. Again, I still think Halloween Resurrection is the worst of this franchise. This is in the running.
Yeah, I don't
Between
know.
this, Halloween 6, and Resurrection, I'd say that those three movies are the absolute low point of this franchise.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure which. I almost think this one is. I don't know. I almost think this one's worse than Halloween Resurrection.
I don't know.
But Halloween Resurrection is severely inept too, so I don't know.
I gotta give Zombie credit for at least having the balls to try something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fell on his face and it completely backfired, but at least he tried.
Well, I guess I'll take it back because, like I said earlier, the actors in this movie are good, and I like Taylor Scout Compton, and I like Danielle Harris and Brad Dourif, their relationship in this movie. There's some fun ideas. I kind of like the idea of. I honestly wish the whole movie was Laurie turning into the next Michael Myers without metaphor.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I still think that if they had just gotten rid of anything connecting this to the Halloween franchise as a whole, it could have been interesting.
Yeah. I mean, because the ending shows her, she kills Michael Myers definitively, and she looks like she's gone completely over the edge into insanity, and she's got his mask, and you see her grinning in a psychiatric ward at the very end of the movie. I would have liked to have seen, I mean, if you're going to do it, just go all out and have her be the next Michael Myers and have her put on a different variation of that mask and go out.
Well, even if they had cut scenes where they showed that she was the one perpetrating the violence, that could have been a little bit, it would have had more clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think
sometimes there's such a thing as too open to interpretation.
Yeah. Man, we're making such a good movie with our mouths right now.
Aren't we, though?
Yeah. What a mouth.
And honestly, this is the only way to really enjoy these movies is to try to make them better.
Oh, man. Were you ever a fan of Rob Zombie's music?
I like his music enough to have the greatest hits package on my phone.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know what? If somebody said, here's some free tickets to go see Rob Zombie, I would go see him. But I don't think I would go seek him out.
Right. Yeah.
What about yourself, sir?
I'm the same way. I like songs of his, and I'm not a super fan. One time I was going to the bar with somebody, and this was back when CD players were a thing, and he put in a Rob Zombie live CD, and we were listening to it. And I'm like, why are you playing this right now? So I'm not that much of a fan, but I'll listen to Dragula and turn it up.
You're not a hater, is what you're saying.
I'm not a hater.
So, as far as Rob Zombie goes, I'm still not ready to write him off, even though I've stopped kind of paying attention to him, because visually speaking, he's an interesting artist. I think if you could get him together with a really good screenwriter and maybe a producer that can reel him in away from his excesses, just like, that first Halloween movie, there's something good in there if it can be harnessed.
I like listening to Rob Zombie talk because he's so smart and interesting and charismatic. I've listened to him on a few different podcasts, and he's a great guest, and he knows his stuff. And I still think,
Does he know his stuff, or is he just a great bullshitter?
maybe he's a great bullshitter. I don't know, but he's charismatic enough where I pay attention, and I'm like, yeah, right on.
Well, yeah, he's a fucking rock star.
Yeah. But I still hold out hope that one day he'll make the next great horror movie. It's not going to be his Munsters remake, whatever's happening with that. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I've seen the publicity still from that. My buddy Swanson showed it to me, and I didn't have the vitriol that a lot of people have when they see it, but I just can't bring myself to care.
It seems like a really odd project for him to do, but whatever.
Well, all I know is I'm really hoping that Herman yells to Lily that he's going to rip out her eyes and skull fuck her to death.
Right? Yeah. So what do you think about Halloween and Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie, sir?
I think it's a great idea that was executed in a piss poor fashion, sir. It could have been something really special, but we got what we got. What about you, sir?
Yeah, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. Except I kind of want to. I think there's some good stuff in both of these, mainly in the first one. But overall, they're not my favorite, and they're not something I would want to watch maybe ever again. It's not something I would seek out. I'll say that.
I could see myself rewatching that first one if the weird mood strikes me just right. I could see myself watching that again. Not that second one though. No. Yeah, I've thrown in the towel on that one.
Gotta wave the white flag sometime.
Yeah.
We're not giving up yet though. We've got two more. We got Halloween and Halloween Kills from Blumhouse. They're the most recent Halloweens, and we're done with this franchise. That'll be
until
exciting.
the next one.
Until the next one. Absolutely. Halloween ends in 2022 or 2023. I don't know.
Something tells me it's not going to end with that movie. I have a feeling they're going to just keep beating that dead horse, sir.
No. That dead white horse, huh? Tell people where they can find you on this World Wide Web.
You can find me on a little show called Jake and Tom Conquer the World. It talks about everything from movies to television to comic books to pretty much whatever other subjects we want to geek out about. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Twitter at The Drunken Dork or on Facebook at Jake and Tom Conquer the World. And if you want to listen to my show, just type in Jake and Tom Conquer the World to any of your favorite podcatchers. You'll be able to find us. What about you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at mretailslave or on the Big Dumb Comedy Show called Miserable Retail Slave or a Seinfeld rewatch podcast called That's a Shame. Find those anywhere your favorite podcast can be found. If you have a Big Dumb movie fan in your life that loves weird, underappreciated gems, hey, turn them on to this show. And if you've got suggestions for movies we should cover,
yes,
also send them our way. We like that. As I said before, we're covering the finale for now of the Halloween franchise coming up. That's not enough to satiate your hunger. I mean, we've given you like 7 hours of content or something on the Halloween franchise at this point. My God. Hopefully,
you see why I said we needed to split this shit up.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, we've recorded like 3 episodes this week alone.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You've got a lot of editing to do.
Yeah, trust me, I know. If that's not enough, hopefully we got some holiday stuff for you coming up. Vaguely Christmas related, I'll say that. I've got some ideas.
I'm looking forward to seeing what's under the tree this year, sir.
Excellent. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.